Hey everybody, welcome to Happy Hour. We're going to have a really good conversation, I hope. So, question. Do you worry about what other people think of you? And does that impact what actions you take? So, it did for me, and I worried a lot about what other people thought. My name is Nancy McKay. I'm a certified life coach. And I quit drinking on March 14th, 2009. And I am really, I'm really passionate about being transparent about my journey with alcohol and trying to eliminate the stigma and the unnecessary shame that is involved with alcoholism and alcohol abuse. So before I quit drinking, one of the things I didn't want to talk about to my drinking buddies was how worried I was about my drinking. A couple reasons. One, I thought that they'd tell me that I didn't have a problem, and that was most likely because then they'd have to admit that they had a problem. No, that's just kind of the way it was, right? But I also didn't want to admit to my really good friends, my friends that have always had my back, that I knew I had a problem, because I knew that they would encourage me to quit drinking, and I wasn't quite ready to do that yet either. So here's what I've learned since I've been sober. First of all, it doesn't matter one damn bit what other people think. There's a saying going around that is, what you think of me is none of my business. And that is really, really true. It's hard to wrap your head around sometimes, and it took me a long time to get to the point where I truly believed that, but I'm there. I'm really there, and frankly, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me or what I'm doing, because I know it's the right thing for me. I know in my heart, in my inner knowing, that I'm doing exactly what I was put here to do. So, that being said, one of the other things is I want you to know that if you're worried about your drinking and you're afraid to talk to people about it, you're not alone. There are a lot of people on that ship with you that are over drinking, abusing alcohol, and they don't want to admit it. They don't want to ask for help. And here's the thing, it's just going to get worse and worse. Alcohol abuse rarely gets better all by itself. You generally need to get some help and figure out what you're thinking about your drinking. And then, you don't have to feel ashamed. This is nothing to be ashamed about. So, whether it's genetics or just the luck of the draw, but for some reason your body doesn't respond well to alcohol. And that for some reason is because it's poison. Alcohol is rocket fuel. It really shouldn't be consumed by anybody, but that's a whole nother topic that we'll get to one of these days. So, what can you do today to take care of yourself? What can you do to change your thinking about your drinking? What can you do to, cope with the stress that lots of people are going through right now, right? And so, to add the double-edged sword of trying to stop drinking while all of this is going on, the pandemic, is, I talked about that a little bit last week. There's two sides of the coin. So if you're worried, there's a few things you can do. First of all, the fact that you're even considering quitting drinking is really brave and very courageous, and you should be proud of yourself for even letting that come into your awareness, right? The other thing is, treat yourself like you would your best friend. If your best friend came to you and said, I've got a problem with alcohol, would you laugh at them or berate them for talking to you? No, you wouldn't. So, give yourself some compassion. Think about how you treat your best friends and treat yourself that way too, okay? Be compassionate with yourself. If you're feeling, if you've overdone it the last few days or the last few weeks or whatever, the last few years, give yourself a break. You don't have to beat yourself up here. We all make mistakes, and there's no reason why you can't change your behavior going forward. There's no sense, hashing up the past, but it's always good to look at what your thoughts are around your drinking and your relationship with alcohol. And lastly, change your critical self-talk, right? So I was taught that our critical self-talk is essentially our lizard brain. And so Martha Beck tells us to imagine we have a lizard that sits on our shoulder and is doing all the negative talking. So my lizard's name is Lulu. I think I've mentioned her to you before. And so whenever Lulu gets, gets her 90 in a knot and starts yammering at me about something, I try to calmly and gently say to Lulu, thank you so much for sharing. You can go back to bed now. So you don't want to berate your inner lizard, because that doesn't do any good. You want to be nice, but firm, and tell your lizard thank you so much, and you don't need their help. So, all of this comes back to thought work. And if you think you can't quit drinking, and if you think you're a horrible person because you're drinking too much, or if you are struggling in your sobriety, there's something underneath that. And we can peel that out. We can peel back the layers and figure out what those thoughts are and what your feelings are when you're thinking those thoughts. So, if you want to know more, I'd love to have a chat with you, and we can talk about working together further, or we can just have a nice visit. So I think you know where to reach me, but if you don't, you can email me at nancy@amazingoutlookcoaching.com, or leave me a message, a comment, and I will get back to you. I'm glad you joined me today, and remember, it's your life and your choice. Have a great evening.